1-7. Two things we have to do in 1-7. We have to determine whether something is a solution or pick the right one, and we have to solve equations. So first, determining solutions. They're going to give you a problem like x plus 5 equals 12. Then they're going to give you x equals 3, 6, or 7. You have to decide which one is the solution. Does 3 work in that problem? Does 6 work in that problem? Or does 7 work in that problem for x? Which one do you think? Well, naturally, you thought right. 7 is the answer. So your answer to this would be 7, because 7 plus 5 equals 12. Okay, here's the next one. X minus 9 equals 16. Is it going to be 21, 25, or 27? Which one works for that problem when you substitute it in for x? Exactly. If you said 25, you got it right. Solving equations. Now, those of you who have had me before know that I am super picky about solving equations. First of all, I'm always going to write solve, check, show all work on the title line, because you have to solve, check, and show all work exactly like I show you to do it. So it would be a good idea to go through these examples on this video and study them carefully and go back to them when you're doing the homework so you can see exactly how to do it. I mean, I'm going to be picky. And you're going to be like, really, Miss Stephan? I know the answer. And I'm going to be like, I could really care less about the answer. I care about teaching you the process. Because some problems are easy. But when you get to the hard problems, if you didn't learn the process, you can't do them. So, I'm going to be picky. I'm telling you now. Picky, picky, picky. So, here we go. Here's our first one. M minus 9 equals negative 23. We want to find out what M is. An equation is like a balance. This side has to stay in balance with this side. I can do anything I want to this equation, but I have to do the same thing to both sides. So, I'm going to try to isolate the variable. That means I want to get M all by itself on one side. So, what on this side do I need to get rid of to have M all by itself? I need to get rid of minus 9. So, if I did plus 9, that would be 0 and it would get rid of it. So, I'm going to go plus 9. Now, if I do it to this side, I have to do it to the other side. So, plus 9. So, that is 0. That just leaves M. Then you have to decide what negative 23 plus 9 is. And sometimes when it's written this way, it confuses you because when you learned it, most of the books write it this way. So it's okay to come over to the side and rewrite it if that helps you. That's 23 negatives and 9 positives. Which one do you have more of? You have more negatives. So your answer is going to be negative. How are you going to get your answer? 23 minus 9. 23 minus 9 is what? That's right. 14. Okay, so the answer is negative 14. Now, when you get to M equals negative 14, remember that's called isolating the variable, getting it all by itself on one side. You have an answer, so you circle it. Now you have to check. To check, what you do is write the original problem down. So, I usually put check, and then I write M minus 9 equals negative 23. Then I'm going to take what I think M is, which I think M is negative 14, and stick it back in For M, I'm checking to see if this is the right answer. Now, I need to see, does negative 14 minus 9 really equal negative 23? So here I have a minus sign in the middle, so I'm going to change that to plus a negative. Negative 14 plus negative 9, that is negative 23. Negative 23 equals negative 23. Now, if you had had this problem, this is exactly how your work has to look. Exactly, precisely, totally just like this. Okay, here's our next one. 8 plus t equals 13. I need t all by itself. I need to isolate the variable. So I need to get rid of this 8. Well, that's a positive 8. So I'm going to subtract 8. That makes 0. And if I do it to this side, I have to do it to this side. Okay, so that's 0. I have t left. T equals 13 minus 8, which is, that's right, 5. That's my answer. I'm going to circle it. Now I'm going to check. Checking, you write down the original problem. Then the next thing you do is you say, let's see if 5 works. Put 5 back in t's spot. 8 plus 5, that equals 13. Sure it does. Now that's checked. Work has to be exactly like this. Okay, here's our next problem. Now, I wrote this down just like the book writes it, because you know how the book thinks that I don't know that the negative goes with the 25 unless there's parentheses. So it's perfectly okay to drop the parentheses. The only reason I really wrote them down was to show you how the book writes it so you wouldn't be confused. If I was really working this problem, I would have gone q plus negative 25 equals 81, because that's much less confusing. Now, we need q all by itself. So we need to get rid of which part? Negative 25. Okay? So, negative 25, I'm going to do positive 25. Wouldn't that make 0? Negative 25, positive 25, 0? Sure. Cross that out, because that makes 0. Then I'm going to put q here. If I do plus 25 to this side, don't I have to do plus 25 to that side? And so that is 106. Q is 106. Circle it. Now, some of you are saying, Miss Stefan, positive and plus, that's two different things. No, it's really not. Positive and plus are the same, and minus and negative are really the same. And I know you don't get that quite yet, but I promise sooner or later it'll click in your head. Okay, so now what do we have to do next? We have to check it. That's right. Okay, when we check, what do we have to do? Write down the original problem. Q plus negative 25 equals 81. Now what? We have to put 106 in Q's spot. 106 plus negative 25 equals 81. Okay. We got 106 positives, we got 25 negatives. Okay? So, the answer is going to be positive. We have to subtract to get the answer. If you do 106 minus 25, you get, oh, I don't need to borrow, you get 81. Okay, so 81 equals 81 checked. That's how your work has to look. Okay, here we go. This one looks funny. It's like they switched sides. It's like it's backwards. If it bothers you, then you can switch it around. If it doesn't bother you, you can work it backwards. Okay? Because remember, an equation is like a balance, so each side is equal to the other. So you could totally switch the two sides around. You could turn it around if you wanted to and make it p minus negative 13 equals 10. or negative 10, sorry. You could switch it if you want to, but I'm going to go ahead and work it backwards so you can see how to do that, okay? So, I want p all by itself, right? This is isolating the variable, putting p by itself. So what do I need to get rid of? This. What do you think I ought to do first, maybe, before I get rid of it? Anybody got any ideas? Maybe I should change that minus and negative to plus so that I don't confuse myself, right? So that is one giant plus sign. I'm just going to write over it. Okay. Now, to get p by itself, I got plus 13, so now what do I need to do with 13? Minus 13. And if I do it to this side, I have to do it to this side, right? Okay, that cancels. That makes 0. That leaves p equals, and now I've got negative 10 minus 13. You might have to come over to the side and go negative 10 minus 13, because remember you learned it this way. Sometimes it confuses you up and down. What do you have to do to the minus sign in the middle? Change it to plus a negative. 1 minus sign in the middle is plus a negative. So now I got negative 10 plus negative 13. That's negative 23. And that's what we think p is. So we circle it. And then what do we have to do next? We have to check. So write the original problem. Negative 10 equals p minus negative 13. That was the original problem. Then I'm going to put negative 23 in for p. So now I have negative 10 equals negative 23 minus negative 13. Well, minus negative is plus. Change that to plus. So you got 23 negatives, 13 positives. You got more negatives. The answer is negative. 23 minus 13 is 10. So negative 10 equals negative 10. Easy. Here's your video homework. Make sure you solve, check, and show all work. Also, one other important thing. Tomorrow, if you are the first person to tell me about the picture you saw in this video, you might get a prize. Have a good evening.